the Pink Friday 2 album. Nicki Minaj released last Friday, I believe. It was kind of a big drop because she hasn't dropped, I believe, since, oh gosh, I don't even know her last album drop. I'll look it up. Yeah, it looks like, unless I'm reading this wrong, her last album drop was like 2018, if that's correct. I don't know. I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, no, it's been a long time for her and a long time coming, and we'll get to it later, but it sounds like it could be her last. So let's hop right into it. I'm going to bring up the track list here if you're looking on YouTube. Let's start out. We have a new way of reviewing albums. It's called the Logic Method. So spelling out my little logical nonsense, just the logic part. We've got lyrics, on-point production, glowing flows, immediate hits, and content matter. We will be reviewing that after going through each song. We'll give each of those a rating. So let's starting out with Are You Gone Already? Biggest thing here is it's, I think, much different than what people expected to start this album off with. Billie Eilish sample. Honestly, didn't expect to ever see this from a hip hop artist. Obviously, Billie Eilish has had a lot of influence within her music. She's blown up in a lot of ways, and she really has her own lane of music. I've respected what she does. It's honestly, I would say, one of my guilty pleasures as a music fan, but I think she's done some really, really cool things, and her vocals are undeniable, what she does over there. So definitely a lot more vulnerable, and Nicki matched that vulnerability. I do think the sample dominated the song a little bit. It didn't really feel like Nicki's song. It still felt like a Billie Eilish song with a remix of Nicki Minaj on there, which sounds weird. I don't think most people would expect Nicki Minaj to be on a song with Billie Eilish. I mean, Nicki Minaj is known for being kind of a ferocious rapper. It's kind of her style. So for her to show a more vulnerable side was interesting, I think, for fans of her. But I think overall, it's not a terrible song. I think it tried to set a mood, but then you go into Barbie Dangerous, and it is so much different than that opening song. Um, it's got, of course, her more up-tempo flow that we're used to with the production, as well as her flow. Kind of the voice fluctuations we're used to hearing, as well as more of the spitting style that we're used to hearing. She has a great flow with this. I think she did a great job of matching that. And she kind of shows she still got it, she still got it in her that she can rap like that. And I think it's one of the better rap songs on this album. Then we go into FTCU, Fuck the Club Up, which is definitely a club banger. As we see, I think artists release more and more, I do think there is an appeal to make some of those club music songs. We saw it kind of late 2000s, that kind of be a trend, and I think it's starting to come back again. Obviously, I Just Want to Rock and some of the Rage songs have been very popular, and the reason being is it hits in clubs, and I definitely think that is what she was trying to achieve here. It goes hard. It's a sample from Waka Flocka, I believe. So she I think executed this perfectly on production wise. She has a great transition into her first verse, the voice fluctuations, the cadences, the chorus, the heavy bass. It's all a super, super great combo. I mean, this song keeps growing on me. I mean, it goes so hard. And she's the perfect person on it. She's so ferocious, and this beat is ferocious. So for her to match that energy with it, this song is, I think, going to be kind of a timeless song. I wouldn't be surprised if we're still listening to this going down the line. So good for her on that. I definitely think she nailed it on this song. It's definitely, I mean, it's been blowing up on TikTok and already and all that. So expect this to be a banger for a while. People are going to continue, I think, going to play this song at clubs and parties for a long time. So good for her on that. She already has so many hits, and she nailed it again. Going to Beep Beep. Another Ferocious song. It's not necessarily a club banger. Definitely more of her lane, I would say, what we're used to seeing. Um, Not that it's filler, but it's definitely a stereotypical Nicki Minaj song is the best way to describe a song like this. I enjoyed it. I think there's some ferocious bars. I think the beat and the flow are both hard hitting, but I do think the chorus was weak a little bit, especially because I think there was opportunity to either contrast what she was doing or either match what she was doing and just bring a stronger chorus to the song. It's only a minute and 37 seconds long, I believe. So it's a short song. Again, it kind of feels like filler, but some people may get a little mad at that because I don't think that the flow is necessarily filler. It's pretty solid song overall. Going to Falling for You, obviously a slower start of a song. The bass kind of comes on. She has some dope ass vocals that come in. Um, and, I think she tried to bring a little bit more vulnerable back into it. But I mean, it's not bad. It just feels underwhelming as a whole. Like it's kind of mid for me. It lacks energy, in my opinion, in some verses, and I know she was probably trying to go for a more laid back, kind of more vulnerable flow, but it just seemed like there wasn't that translation of vulnerability. Instead, it felt like we were just getting a transition of lack of energy. So, um, I also feel like the picture throughout the verse, like how she kept saying "picture," became a little repetitive at times. That could have been better executed. So, not terrible song. It was just kind of average for me. Next song, I thought she executed beautifully. J. Cole, King of Features, does it again. The lyrical Nikki comes out. She tells a story, and I really really mess heavy with this verse from her, as well as from J Cole. I think a lot of people would look at this and they're expecting like a super, kind of a song like they saw with Drake and J Cole, kind of a higher speed pace and what we're used to seeing when he features, and it wasn't. It was more vulnerable. It was more laid back. I thought the production was dope. The chorus was dope, and I think the feature from J. Cole and Nicki, their chemistry was good. They match each other's energy like a feature should. Sometimes you can have, contrast within a song, but I think the way he was able to come in, match your energy, tell a story as well was also good. Both really good storytellers in this, and I think this was one of the best songs on the album, actually. So good job on that, executing it well. Sadly, I don't think they executed the Little Wayne song as well. I think this was a much more poppy song, a attempt at a pop song, in my opinion. Kind of a cool verse from Nicki, with a little sampled flow in there with the and shit and shit. But she I don't know. It was okay. I think the Wayne verse could have been executed a little better. It's not like bad by any means. Like I said on here before, it's hard to discredit Wayne. I do wonder, and this is kind of maybe a hot take. I do wonder if this is a downturn of Wayne's career. I'm going to get into his album with 2 Chains, but I honestly felt underwhelmed from that album as well. I think this could be the downturn of his career, which is sad because he's had such a storied career. I constantly go back on his music and some of his hits and look at just some of the bars he's able to pull off, and he's not hitting with the same energy and flows and lyrical content that he used to. And I also don't think he's been placed on the right production of what he is able to make sound good. So it's just sad because he's such a legend, but I definitely think I don't want to say he's fallen off, but I think we're starting to see not as great of content from him as we've seen in the past. Pink Friday, it's a little nod to that classic 80s birthday song. It's my birthday and I cry if I want to. That so she has a little nods of that to there, which is cool. Kind of a classic. I don't know what you guys call it, the Barbie birthday song, I guess, from her fans. It's again kind of a stereotypical Nicki song, but I think the vocals were thrown in there pretty nicely. Um, I think the song overall was a little overshadowed by the production and the beat, but it wasn't terrible. I think it was. I could see the song doing well, but we'll see. Needle featuring Drake. We got that singing ass fool Drake once again. I mean, it's much different than his only verse, that's for sure. Uh, but you can see and hear the Spanish influence in this, and you see this across many albums throughout. Bad Bunny's effect on music is being seen in this song through Drake. I think he's seen how successful Bad Bunny's been, and going to, I believe, a few songs later, you'll see another Spanish song kind of influenced by Bad Bunny. So I think it's definitely one of those things that's kind of coming into play, and being highly considered. Um, and then going to kind of what Drake did on this, it's another house music song from him. It's better than some of the other appearances he's had, but I feel like if you're gonna have Drake on there, like we could have a better song than what was represented here. So kind of disappointing, honestly, but overall not terrible. Going to Cowgirl, kind of reminds me of a Sleepy Hollow beat, honestly, but the high pitched verse is way too annoying for me. I can't do it. Usually, I'm kind of a fan of the more vocal, kind of higher pitched verses, but it was not. It wasn't getting to me. The second time around, I, the first time I listened to this song, I thought that the second time I heard the vocals, I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. But I just listened to it again right before this podcast in preparation, and honestly, I think it got worse. The second time I was like, why did I like this at all? So everybody, another club banger, man. Like she had two club bangers on here. It's obviously something of a focus for her. Um, Obviously, I think there's two samples in this song. The one sample is from "Move Your Feet," which is a very popular song. Many people know, but the way she was able to get Lil Uzi Vert on there. Obviously, she made an appearance on the Pink Tape with Lil Uzi Vert, and I think honestly, this is probably the better song of the two. I mean, this is again kind of more of a club banger. It's really more of a production remix. Really, like there wasn't a ton of added stuff that they brought to it, in my opinion. Um, I think this song in general just hits. The sample hits, and so again, this will do well at clubs. I think this is a timeless song because of the sample, but it's kind of just an updated version, in my opinion. So I personally, from her, I don't know if she added much. I don't know if Uzi added much. People might disagree with that, but I feel like it was just kind of a recreated song that was just okay. So going to, I realize I haven't been scrolling down for those of you on YouTube. Sorry about that. So going down to Big Difference. Um, I think this song is kind of going right back to that ferocious Nicki, which she kind of goes all over the place. I noticed with her transitions, which I'll get to. She kind of has 3 or 4 categories within this album that she keeps going back to. Um, but she goes back to her ferocious Nicki, kind of her more element. Not terrible. Again, it felt like a filler song, especially on a 22 song track list. This is a song in my opinion, look to kind of get out of. The next song, though, Ruby Red to Sleaze, I was kind of impressed with. I thought it showed a lot of diversity within the track. The vocals in the back make for more of a kind of eerie beat and sound. And I think the beat switches are super dope. This is one of the better songs on the album, from the flow switches to the chorus. And like I said, the beat switches hit really hard. I think this is just a super dope song with a lot of layers, and just something you can, kind of vibe out to as well. I think her ferocious flow is super dope throughout it. So good job on that. The voice fluctuations are cool. I think something that's super underrated with her, and something I don't want to say she started, but something she definitely I think needs to get more credit for her influence on across the board. Forward from Trini. Again, I talked about Bad Bunny. This is exactly shown here. He has a major, major influence in this song. You can hear it. And I don't want to say like he is the only Spanish rapper. I'm not that ignorant. I know there's other Spanish rappers, not Spanish rappers, Spanish pop artists, but it's more specifically, I feel like his sound and the way he's able to execute it on a more hard cutting production. You can just hear it. And I think because he has become such a world icon, um, American artists are giving him respect and trying to go down that avenue, in my opinion. So, Pink Friday Girls. I think this will be a hit for her. Whether it's now or eventually, I think it's got everything that a Nicki Minaj hit has. I mean, it's got the girls just want to have fun, which is like kind of her vibe, and bringing that kind of sample, and then she's got the hard hitting rap on it. I think there's cool fluctuations, there's cool flow. I think it brings up another question if the hits are working because it's like it brings up the question if samples are working because they're kind of just modernized nostalgic music. Like girls just want to have fun, the everybody song, those songs, like, you're really not changing the base of the song that much. You're really just adding a modern rap element to it, which is kind of just bringing, and in an age where we're so, I think, kind of attached with that nostalgic feeling, it makes sense. So, um, music's just being constantly recycled over and over again, and we're constantly just almost kind of like revitalizing it is the word for it, I guess. So interesting, interesting. I'm not like hating on the song or anything, but it's definitely interesting. Super freaky girl. Obviously, it was a big single and it's been a hit, so not much to talk about there. Bam Bam. Again, I think one of the better rapping performances. I think it's a good song. It reminds me a little of her other track on this, Beep Beep. But overall, I think it's a solid song. Nothing to you know go home about or anything, but the Heart of Glass sample in My Life, was a little strange to me, honestly. I think, she tried to go for a more vulnerable song. And I think it's actually a decent song, especially content-wise, but I just don't really fuck with the Heart of Glass sample. I think it kinda ruined the song, honestly. I think she could have picked a different sample with the same kind of vibe she was looking for, and it would have been better executed, but I don't think she executed that well. Nikki Hendrix, this song has kind of aged on me. I think Future's vocals at the beginning, I think he was trying to like be all like kind of like cool and but like it really turned out awful. Like it's kind of disgusting how bad it is. But I like his verse. I think his verse is actually overall pretty good. Maybe it's a little dry, but his intro is awful. It can't be fixed. Nikki comes in, and I think she has solid vocals, solid verse. Um, I do think it was a little cringy with the whole line about pussy tastes like water. Like, I don't know, like it's some stuff like that where it's like I'm not her fan probably. But I don't know, a little cringeworthy for me, but maybe it'll hit for other people. I don't know. Blessings. Another vulnerable song, I think towards the end, she really brings out the vulnerable songs. Tasha Cobbs, Leonard has some great, beautiful singing on this. And she goes, "The last time I saw you." I don't know if the contrast works in this song, but I do, it's another vulnerable song. And then she ends up with Just Memories. Super cool song, honestly, super introspective into kind of her self-reflection on kind of her whole life, her come up. I was really impressed with how she was able to tell it, and her storytelling. She definitely foreshadows a lot of possibly this being it, and this kind of being her retirement speech in a lot of ways. It's kind of sad, honestly. It kind of it's like, wow, like, she has really had a good career, and I think people will look at her career, whether this is it or not. I think people have to give her flowers. I mean, she's really been a pioneer in bringing women rappers on the map and getting respected because she has so many hits. She also has the ability. I mean, she can spit. She really can. And whether the content is for you, whatever. She's not always, talking about probably things everyone wants to talk about, but I think overall she did a solid job in her career. So, going to the Logic recap, we'll start with lyrics. Overall, I think her vulnerability in her songs was good. When she brought that out, I think lyrically she was solid, but obviously on songs like um fuck the club up and everybody, and you know some of the other songs, I think she wasn't focused on lyrics, and for that I think the rating here is probably like a 6.7 out of 10. And I think that just kind of speaks volumes to kind of what you're getting on this. Obviously, she has a very focused lyrical thing, but when she was able to self-reflect, she oftentimes did a good job of storytelling and bringing in lyrics and bars that were interesting and introspective. So, on point production is the O for Logic. I think the production on the club hits especially were super good. There was some songs where the samples I felt like overshadowed what the song was. I also felt like there were times where the production kind of took away from the song. It was a little annoying. Honestly, I felt like there's been better produced albums than this one. Um, I'm gonna go with a 6.4 on the on point production. Might be a little low on some. Honestly, I think I might be underselling some of the production because some of the sample flips were very well executed. Like I said, fuck the club up and everybody were really good sample flips. But look at a song like um, the Heart of Glass sample and or not Heart of Glass sample and just some others. I just wasn't. I didn't think it was there, so I'm gonna go with 6.4 there. Glowing flows, which is the L or the G in Logic. This is referring to flows. I actually think Nicki's flows are some of the best in the game. She's always been a big flow person, and the way she's able to fluctuate her voice and flow was incredible in this album. She continued to do it. I'm going to give her an 8.6 out of 10 for glowing flows. Immediate hits, kind of this basically is just talking about like how well is it as a cohesive whole, like is this not cohesive whole, sorry, how well is this, like is this a good album to listen to, are there a lot of hits, is there are there good songs on this album? I would say overall, I would say about half the album is good songs, and so for that, I'll give it a 7.4 out of 10. I think she's gonna have hits on this album. I think there's definitely some longevity within this album, but for content matter, this is where I'll talk about kind of the flow of this album. She has really four categories. She has her club hits, which I think are going to be the most popular on this album. She has her vulnerable songs, some of her more self-reflection songs. She has her ferocious Nicki songs, and then I would say her fourth category was kind of her house music songs, with like Drake and the Bad Bunny um, inspired song with Forward from Trini. So I think The content matter. Some people might say it was all over the place, and at first, honestly, on first listen, I felt like it was all over the place, but honestly, she kind of ties it all in weird ways. Um, it's almost like she's kind of going on this roller coaster of kind of her own diversity of showing all of everything she could. I think the thing that really threw me off is kind of the house music. I really don't think that belongs. I think you can get away with the club music and the ferocious bars, but and even the vulnerable songs, but the house music just doesn't fit for me. Overall content matter. I think again going back to lyrical content, and I know this is different, but I think the content matter of what we're seeing, what she's portraying, um, was pretty solid. It wasn't terrible at all, and I think it was a little different than what people expected, especially for expectations. The overall content of the songs, I'm gonna give a 7.6. So getting out our calculator for an average rating of 7.2. 7.2 out of 10 is my rating for this album. Make sure to check it out. Tell me your thoughts, where I got it wrong, where I got it right. Definitely a good album. I recommend everyone listening to it for sure.